In the last couple of weeks, the pest pressure has increased dramatically. And so many of my plants need intervention right away or they will just die. I want to talk about something that no one is talking about, and that is these invasive butterflies called the border patch butterfly. They are not considered endangered in any way. They come to my garden every year, and sunflowers are host plants for so many different butterflies. But these guys, they take over and just start killing the plants. And if I let them kill the plants, then I won't have any sunflowers for any of the other animals, the other wildlife that comes to visit the garden. Plenty of these butterflies are going to make it. I've got to get in there and cut a lot of these leaves off before these caterpillars are born and completely take over, because otherwise these sunflowers are just dead. It's intervention time. There's not a lot I can do about these pests besides manually remove them. I don't use organic pesticides either. At this point, I just use manual chop and drop. I drop those leaves that are infested. There's usually new leaves starting to grow. So my hope is that I get rid of those leaves and new ones can grow. These leaves have been attacked so much by these insects, not just the border patch butterfly, but that is my number one. It's mainly the sunflowers and the Mexican sunflowers that these border patch butterflies use as host plants, and they love it. So those are the ones I'm trying to save. I know I just did a Mexican sunflower video a few weeks ago, and they're almost all dead. I have got to save them before they die. I do want to plant more sunflowers in the fall, but let's see what we can do about saving these gigantic sunflowers that we already have. I'm getting ready to do some of the chop and drop of the leaves that are highly infested that I don't think I can save anyway. Most of them have not grown into adults yet. So I can go ahead and just cut them off, let them drop to the ground, and they'll probably just dry up. Depending on what you need to cut, you can use pruners if it's thicker. And if it's not that thick, you can use scissors. Sometimes I just think it's easier to grab scissors. And since I'm just cutting off leaves right now, I might sometimes even rip them off with my hands, but I don't want to recommend that to you guys because it sometimes rips down the stem. We're going to do this today with scissors, and I'm going to show you what's going on in the garden. Unfortunately, right now, there's a lot of pest problems. They're taking over the sunflowers, and if I don't do this, they're going to actually kill the plant. As much as I love butterflies and helping to host them, sometimes they're killing the plant even before they can finish their life cycle. That takes the plant away from all the other wildlife that would use it, like the birds and squirrels that are constantly climbing them and stealing these and then running away. All of the birds and bees and butterflies and everything that they support. I don't want these guys to die. Sometimes you have to make a decision, and there are plenty of these border patch butterflies. They're not endangered. They're very prolific, so they're fine. I can make the decision to go ahead and let some of these go and save these plants. Let's take a look at this one. You can see there's a lot of eggs and bugs on here, possibly diseases as well. The diseases and viruses, as far as I know, are everywhere. Keep everything healthy so they're unlikely to catch these diseases and viruses. So I don't really worry about it. I just throw it all on the ground. So here we go. I'm going to cut that off. Picking and choosing which leaves need to go. And I can also use this chance to remove dried leaves. If they're really dry, sometimes you can just pull them off with your hands, but if they're not coming off easily, use scissors. Even some of these tiny little leaves that are new are already so infested, it's just not worth saving. These are going to still grow more leaves and flowers, and I'm going to concentrate on these new ones, hoping that these tiny ones will get big, especially if I remove the ones that are causing the whole plant to die. Here we go. And then these are not a waste. They're going into the garden bed and they're becoming mulch and feeding the soil. So they're going to look a little stark without their giant, beautiful leaves, but they'll grow back. And if they can survive through the summer, they'll continue growing beautifully in the fall. So like this one right here, it looks like, let me see this leaf. That one's not totally gone yet, but it does have some damage. I see a little bud growing there. If I cut off all this, that little bud should continue growing more leaves. So this does take some detail work, and I do it early in the morning. Right now, it's not that hot yet. It's before 9 a.m. I'm probably going to use my low power battery powered blower to just blow these back into the garden bed. I don't have to be perfect about it. Normally I would go much faster than this, but I want to talk to you guys and show you what's going on. It's taking a little bit longer. My main problem is getting it done before it's too hot. And then I get overwhelmed and it doesn't get done and the plants die. So really I should have done this sooner before it got this bad. But better late than never. I think I can still save some. A lot of the ones in my front yard I've had to completely cut down already. I'm going to have a video soon where I show you how I use my wood shredder. It's for sticks and things like that, but honestly, the hardwood sticks can't go through it. But these stalks are so lightweight and kind of like styrofoam that they go through it so easily and make really great mulch. So I'll show you how I do that. So nothing really goes to waste, even if they die. We're going to use this organic matter. For this one, I think I'm going to have to hop over the fence. They're shading a lot of plants underneath, like that little pepper. There's blackberries, sweet potatoes, beets. I need to check on those. There's basil, and my little tiny apple tree right there. So a lot of these are pretty dry. Normally I would use 2 gloves because these really scratch up, but I'm filming this on my phone and I can't focus if I'm trying to zoom in on something. It doesn't like my gloves. Let me know if you have any gardening gloves that work with your phone. I might not be able to do this with every single one of these, depending on how big your garden is. If you just have a few, it's easy. Sometimes if it's really bad, I'll just cut off the whole branch, but then it's not going to grow back. Over time, you can see that the ones on the bottom kind of die first, and I start cutting them up so they become almost like trees or poles, but then it continues growing at the top. It does have a finite amount of flowers. Each one of these stalks coming off is like its own new plant. If it gets cut off, it does not grow back. If you can keep most of it alive and it has buds and new leaves to grow, then you can keep that flower stalk. Mostly, I'm not cutting these off for no reason. They grow and die from the bottom. So usually it's the bottom ones going first. These flower heads are too covered in bugs. So I'm going to go down to here where I see new leaves growing that are not totally infested. So I think it can continue growing from there. This branch is already bent down, pretty much dead. So let's get that one. You can probably see this. Let's see. Very infested. It just looks like the leaf is dying. I see these little white spots on the front, and these leaves have got to go. If they're even taller, you can look right underneath them. Otherwise, lift it up, because most of the bugs' eggs are going to be underneath the leaf. I don't know if I could live in the country, because I love having access to everything here. But I have my little bit of nature right here in the city. Let me know if you have a suburban or urban home that you'd like to build a garden. Let me know, how far are you on your gardening journey? Do you already have a garden? Are you just getting started? I'm planning on having classes for total beginners, but it can be for anybody who is interested, and people who maybe have done permaculture design, but they haven't implemented it in their own home yet and are ready to do it. Soon, we're gonna have an online community on Skool. I'll be doing live coaching calls, so I'll be able to answer your questions live for your context, because I know things are a little bit different. If you don't live in my area, you can still apply these same concepts. Especially if you live in another analog climate, or what that means is a similar climate. If it's humid and hot where you live, kind of a difficult growing area. People are like, oh my gosh, I used to be a gardener when I lived in the Midwest, and then I moved here and I could never garden again. That's a pretty common story here. But I'm here to tell you, you can. It's just different. You have to learn. It's going to be a lot different than what you're used to. All right, friends, can you see I'm making some progress? These ones, especially in this bed, are really important to me to save. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on these than I might some of them. And if you're more of a native gardener, native plants are easier. They grew up there, they're used to the climate. You can grow a food forest just for the animals if you want. It's basically just called a native garden. We're just growing it in the style of a food forest. It uses less equipment. You're not going to need a ton of expensive things to get started. And just put it in the ground. How awesome is that? And over time, you're improving the soil. Nothing against raised beds, but they all deteriorate over time, which is annoying. Do you want to have to keep replacing things over time? If you have a lot of equipment that degrades over time, you're going to have to replace it. That's why I don't use landscape fabric anymore, like the kind you'd get at Home Depot. It actually breaks down with all kinds of other materials in your soils. If you want to be natural, get something that we want to break down over time, like even cardboard. If you get Amazon boxes, I just remove the tape and use that to keep your weeds down and put some mulch over it. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you later this weekend.